The head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Tyler is on vacation, so let's welcome Carrie Van Driest, who's filling in this episode. Hey, Carrie.
Hey there.
We're rolling.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of The Head, the Tail, the Whole Damn Thing. What are the boys up to now, you ask? Well, talking about the 1995 classic Species and going crazy for 2024's Cuckoo. Let's get cozy and listen in.
Oh, hell yeah. So what are we
Good question.
what are we recording today?
Holy smokes. We went through so many titles before we landed on these two.
Yeah.
And,
And
right
half
up,
of them we watched.
up until the 11th hour, it looked like we were going to do something different. But then I got a visit from Walking Pneumonia.
Ah, hello, Walking Pneumonia. How are you?
Oh, coming to a neighborhood near you.
Yes.
Oh, let me tell you, it's terrible. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
I had COVID a couple of years ago, and that sucked. That sucked big time. But this one was the worst. This is the worst I've felt in forever. So,
Wow.
yeah, we were going to see Heretic. I was going to see Heretic over the weekend, and then I just got too sick.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't stop shaking.
Oh. That's pretty awful, actually.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
Yeah.
that being fucking good in any way.
I just felt like I was on the threshold of like a chill all the time. And then sometimes I would cross the threshold and I would just start teeth chattering like a little chihuahua, like, I can't stop.
That is the worst. Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to go through that.
And so instead of Heretic
Yep.
and the complimentary picture we chose with that one,
Which was Saw.
it was. That will be coming soon.
Yes.
At some point. We're still going to pair those two together.
Yep. It's a good pairing, I think.
We picked 2024's.
Yeah, and then we were going to pair it with The Invitation, which neither one of us knew anything about. And
And then you were like,
Watched
I don't
it.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the invitation. How about Mimic?
yeah, I was like, Mimic sounds like a good one.
And I was like, yeah, Mimic. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mimic.
And then you talked about the girl that's in Mimic and
Yeah,
how she's naked all the time. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't remember that.
And I was like, how do you not remember that? It's what everybody remembers from that.
Yeah. So that night I bought the Mimic 4-pack on iTunes and I watched Mimic because it's not available streaming. And that night you bought Species.
Yeah, exactly. I went ahead and I rented Species, and I watched the whole thing, and I was like, how does he not remember the naked woman in this? And then the next morning I got up, and I was like, wait a second, did he say Mimic? Because the whole time I was thinking about Species. The whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
The whole time I was thinking about Species. But then, coincidentally, I had already seen Cuckoo, and I was like, you know what, Mike? Species. Not so bad.
Yeah. And you're
Actually,
right.
It works.
Because I watched Mimic and I took notes. I could read them to you. And there are some similarities, but Species, I think, is a better pairing. So we workshopped this one until we got it right.
Yeah, oh my God. So do we want to just jump into Species here? What are we doing here?
I mean, yeah, unless you want to talk about something else first.
Well, fuck that. Let's go. I feel like I got lots to say about Species. It had been a while, and it was it was worth a revisit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you, what's Species about? And can you do it in a Michael Madsen voice?
Can I do it in a Michael Madsen voice? I don't know. The voice, I think it might take too long.
Yeah,
And
he does puzzle.
too many eyebrows. No, Species, 1995. Species is a movie that starts with a bunch of scientists who get a signal from space with instructions on how to splice alien DNA into human genetic material and create a new...
Species?
You got it. As they ever do, recognizing the potential to create hot chicks, our boys
Yes.
decide to weird science the shit out of this and create Syl, a sweet little blonde alien destined to become a Scandinavian smoke show. Too smart, fast, and cute to be contained by these incel nerds, Syl escapes, grows up fast, and makes her way to the mean streets of Los Angeles with one thing on her mind. Like a desperate Mormon sister wife on a bad ayahuasca trip, she wants to make babies and will kill anything that gets in her way. Species. Rated R. Directed by Roger Donaldson and featuring a, let's face it, fantastic fucking cast in this movie.
Absolutely fantastic cast.
Stacked. Absolutely stacked. What did you think of Species, Mike?
It had been a really, really long time since I seen Species. And I probably saw it when it first came out in the theater.
I did too.
When it first dropped on video. And had kind of forgotten that it even existed until now. And I don't know why, because this is not a bad movie.
Well, I was thinking it was Mimic.
Yeah.
For decades, I probably was thinking that this was Mimic.
I'll be honest, this is a better movie than Mimic. And Mimic is, early Guillermo del Toro, probably with a lot of studio fingers in the pie.
Sure.
But this is just a fun action sci-fi horror movie that is way better than it ought to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Roger Donaldson, I said, is the guy that directed that. He's got a couple of thrillers under his belt.
Dante's
No Way
Peak.
Out. No Way Out. Dante's Peak is another one. But this movie trucks. It starts, and I think you can accuse the writing of being lazy sometimes. We'll get into that.
Sure.
But there's no fat, really, in this script. It is just moving from place to place to place. The dialogue is pushing it forward. We're going from set piece to set piece to set piece. And it is not slowing down. I think, for what it is, like you called it an action, sci-fi, horror, or thriller, it has its foot on the gas pedal pretty much the whole time. It's a great example of sort of like a 90s popcorn action movie.
Yeah, well done. And it's not like it's a good movie. It's not like it's winning any kind of awards.
No.
It's just nonstop fun. Like you say, it's a popcorn show, 100%. It's got a lot of great practical effects. This was kind of in that 90s time period, was sort of like the heyday of makeup effects being innovative and fun and different and having the time and the money to just play around and do some really cool shit. And this is a prime example of that. And I'll say it was XFX, run by Steve Johnson, who, Steve Johnson, of course, we talked about him on Videodrome. He was one of the guys with Rick on that. And, he has been a staple in makeup effects for many, many years. And he had a company called XFX for a long time. And this was one of the things they did. And I talked to a buddy of mine, Joe Colwell, who worked there during that time period. I worked for XFX for a little bit on The Stand, the original TV miniseries.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And, that was quite a while ago. But that's where I first met Joe, was on that show. But yeah, I spoke to him about this, and when we get to some of the scenes, I'll break it down because I was like, I think this is how they did it, and I gave him a call, and he's like, oh yeah, this is what we did, and it's cool shit. So yeah, great makeup effects. It's a fun show. It's a fun story. It's not winning anything for acting or writing, but Michael Madsen plays Michael Madsen turned up to 11.
Yeah, peak Madsen here. This is right after, of course, we all remember Michael Madsen from Free Willy, when he absolutely killed. I don't care what you know, I'm gonna Free Willy. I think is what was. That's the famous line when he saves. He was like, "You think the whale's a killer?" It was really, a strong performance.
You gonna bark all day, little doggy? Or are you gonna bite?
Are you gonna?
You gonna bark all day, Free Willy? Or are you gonna bite?
No, this cast is stacked, though. You got Michael Madsen, right?
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs. He's living the high life, the A-list right now. And then you've got Ben Kingsley in this. You've got Forrest Whitaker in this.
The empath.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. You've got Alfred Molina in this.
Yeah, cheap Dr. Octopus.
You got young Michelle Williams in this. There's 3 Academy Award winners in this movie.
Mark Helgenberger, too.
Sure. Staple of CSI for many, many years. Yeah, fantastic cast. And, of course, we should mention Natasha Henstridge as well.
Yeah.
I think must have been 21 in this movie.
Probably. I worked with her on Ghosts of Mars.
Oh, just a few years after this.
Yeah.
Did she have clothes on in that one?
She did. It was cold.
So, yeah, this movie starts out, our scientists, preposterous plot, but who cares, right? It's the 90s, and you're like, DNA? Sure, that sounds cool. They talked about that in Jurassic Park, right? It all makes sense.
Let's mix it.
Oh, yeah. And so they create a human, and it's, like I said, young Michelle Williams is under glass, and in the beginning you see Ben Kingsley. Apparently the scientists have decided, we don't like how this alien is growing up. Even though she seems totally cool and
docile.
Nice. And yes.
Yeah.
They chose to create a female because they're what was it?
Easier to control and more docile. And that's when Michael Madsen goes, "You scientists don't get out much, do you?"
Yeah. Good peak Madsen right there. But they try and gas her. She escapes. This is the first 5 minutes of this movie. Yeah, starts trucking along. It's got every single trope of, the government facility escape that you want. You want sirens going off? We got that. You need, the flashing lights.
We got them.
The spotlights circling around everywhere.
It's there.
You want a troop of combat boots marching down the hallway with rifles with flashlights on them?
They're coming.
You want some lens flares as we crash into a chain link fence?
You got it, kid.
You want to round up some helicopters and send them on their way? We got that too.
Oh, yeah. Who's the real monster here, though? Is it little young Michelle Williams, or is it Ben Kingsley who wants to gas a little girl?
Yeah. Ben Kingsley in the most benign milquetoast bad scientist role. You could just see Ben Kingsley cashing a check this whole movie.
Completely. Yeah.
He's doing a vaguely kind of Texan accent or something.
Yeah.
Always looking off on the horizon, trying to figure out where he's going to eat on the break.
He's looking to Gandhi's past, where Gandhi's been. Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, but yeah, Michelle Williams, Little Sill, she escapes, hops on a train. She hops on a boxcar boxcar to get away.
Yeah. And has sort of a dream / nightmare of aliens having sex in water.
Yeah. It's a weird motif that will keep being repeated throughout the movie as our new species here is sort of being urged, I guess, subconsciously to procreate. She keeps seeing visions of aliens mating and some other weird things throughout the course of this movie.
And it reminded me because I worked with a guy named Mike Deek for a lot of years, good friend of mine. And I remember I had forgotten about this scene in the movie, and I remember him telling me that he played one of the aliens having sex in Species.
Really?
And so I texted him, and I was like, hey, you were in the Species suit in the alien sex scene, weren't you? I know that sounds like a personal question, and it's awful forward of me. And his answer was, sure was. And I said, I may have to give you a call tomorrow and talk about it. I'm reviewing that movie on the podcast on Thursday. And he said, anytime. It was only one of 2 monster sex scenes I did, and the other one I doubled a midget. And he is 6'3", just so you know.
I'm imagining Mike Deek getting the text while he's home right now, oh, what's this? And over his shoulder, over the mantle, is just a giant painting of him and the alien sex suit. Just yeah, in fact, that was me.
Yes, he's signing a stack of autographs that are the alien sex scene.
we should definitely mention alien design in this movie.
Yeah, H.R. Giger.
H.R. Giger. Yeah. And it's definitely, as far as Giger designs go, this is certainly an also ran. I feel like after the alien projects and everything, they were like, oh, what else you got?
Yeah,
Hans Richter or whatever his name is. It's like, well, I've been working on this one with tentacles that shoot out of its breasts. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll work with that.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. See, there is a vagina in the center of the chest, and this is where the proboscis is going to enter.
Well, sure. It almost goes without saying.
Yeah. Well, of course. we would think of nothing else.
But we get ahead of ourselves. Right now, little Syl is on the train and gets accosted by a hobo in this weird dream sequence. A gold-toothed hobo, which she quite quickly and efficiently just breaks open like a tin of beans. Just like
yeah, she throws him across the room and he snaps in half like a matchstick.
Just completely wrecks that hobo.
Yeah. That hobo's not going to do much anymore.
No more stealing pies off windowsills for you, mister.
He's never going to go on a safari.
You've tied your last bindle. Boxcar Willie.
He's never going to sing Sweet Home Alabama.
No, never again. Never feel the sweet caress of fingerless gloves on his hands.
Not going to ride the rails. Loose and carefree.
Nope. No, it's all over.
Yeah.
For our sweet hobo friend.
And then sweet hobo friend. He's never gonna win the lotto and grow up to go to a costume party and dress as a hobo in an ironic way.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Poor
so
guy.
she goes through his little bindle there, and she gets like a new jean jacket and some other stuff.
Yeah.
So she can disguise herself, and then, much like the hobo lifestyle, hops on another train.
Yeah.
This time an Amtrak.
Yeah.
To Los Angeles, and there she just like starts scarfing down the pudding packs and the bags of Cheetos. Oh man, just devil dogs and ho-hos, just taking them all to Pound Town.
Cranking that sugar content up because she's gonna go into chrysalis form soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chrysalis form. Let's talk about that giant ball of goop that happens while she's in the train. Because Michelle Williams has another one of those crazy ayahuasca nightmares.
Yep.
And then she wakes up and she's got the old, like, altered states bubble face going for a bit there.
Yeah, there was, and the hands, too. The hands, the hands, there were some puppet hands, right? If you look at them, they're puppet hands. They're doing some pull and some bladder stuff, and the pull is like a piece of monofilament that's tied to the underside of the foam. And you see the hands start to split open a little bit and the alien flesh beneath. And then we get into her face where they did some more little flesh pulls on the side of her face to pull it out. And then it goes into some sweet 90s arcade vision CGI. For a minute.
Yeah, and as you were talking about earlier, this movie really has some terrific practical effects in it. Really has a lot of them. It also has, especially towards the end, we're going to get some of those like truly terrible 90s CGI graphics in this movie.
Yeah.
Like truly
Absolutely.
terrible. And this one, I actually thought they kind of pulled this one off a little bit more because the train was, I don't know if it was going through a tunnel or something, but the light kept flickering on and off. So it was kind of masking it just a little bit.
Yeah, it was masking the CGI tentacles that grew out of her face and started going up to the ceiling to turn her into a chrysalis. Oh, you know what's fun after this, or maybe it's even before the chrysalis scene, is all of our cast of characters getting together and going and meeting with Ben Kingsley for the very first time.
Yeah, assemble the super team.
Yeah, and Ben Kingsley basically tells everybody, listen, aliens are real, and we mixed them with our DNA, and that might have been a bad idea.
Yeah. Truly, though, they were all about the weird science angle. I think they
Yeah.
were just like, well, according to these DNA blueprints, it looks like she's going to be 5'10", blonde, and totally smoking.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and give it a shot.
All right, yeah, sure. Yeah, they get you Michael Madsen doing his peak Madsen tough guy kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You get Alfred Molina, he's always has an air of intelligence about his characters.
Sure.
And then you have Forrest Whitaker in this. And I love Forrest Whitaker and just
Sure.
about everything.
Yep.
But Forrest Whitaker is unabashedly a magical Negro in this movie. And
I think someone's at the door for me.
yeah, it's exactly right. And, lest anyone think I am using some sort of arcane nomenclature here and that.
Yeah.
And they're not familiar with the whole idea of a magical Negro in movies. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, right, it's typically a person of color who exhibits some sort of magical powers that is there solely to help the often white protagonists.
Yes.
And yet, even though they are magical and can help that person, cannot help themselves out of whatever situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bagger Vance is the big one people talk about, or Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile.
Yep.
But this one,
Yep.
he says he's an empath, but he's like a total psychic. Anytime the script, even for a moment, is like, how the character is going to know this? Which direction should they go? Forrest Whitaker is there to be like, she went that way. Or, like, you should check out over here. Every single time the script might hit a speed bump, they're like, give it to the psychic. Just, he'll point him in the right direction.
Absolutely. But he also points out the obvious, too. Oh, something bad went down here. Really?
Yeah.
You don't say.
And there's a dead conductor on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the super team has got together, and they are going to chase Syl into Los Angeles. Now, full grown, after the cocoon thing sort of swallows the train conductor, bites the train conductor.
Yeah, well, let me talk about the cocoon thing for just a second.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you watch this, it's pretty fucking cool looking, right? Mm-hmm. There's this guy named Bill Bryan, who has been a staple in makeup effects for a lot of years, and he worked over at XFX. Bill Bryan also wore the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man suit in the original Ghostbusters. Yes, he did.
Wow, that's a claim to fame.
Yeah, he was in the suit, and he will be the first one to tell you all about it, and he's got a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man t-shirt, a different one for every day of the week when you hire him and he comes into the shop. It's like, oh, that's another Stay Puft. Oh, it's another I get it. Totally sweet guy, great dude, super talented. And he came up with this idea of using plastic bags. So all of that construction that you see growing out of the wall and undulating is all essentially dry cleaning plastic bags that are pulled and torqued and tweaked and shaped into forms and then filled with air and air sucked out. So you've got the suck and the blow like we did in Videodrome, right? And you get the undulating of it. And that plastic is so thin. If you've ever fucked around with a dry cleaning bag, you like poke your finger hard into it. It doesn't actually rip through.
It specifically says they're not toys on there. You're not supposed to fuck around with those. You're
not supposed to put children
very clear.
In them. You're not supposed to put children in them. That's what you're not supposed to do. Because they're tough to get out of. Yeah.
Anyway, you were sticking your finger in there.
Yeah, if you stick your finger in a dry cleaning bag, you can push it to a pretty far point before it actually tears through. It's got a lot of strength to it. So you can push and pull and basically shape a bunch of thorny bits on a bag and then inflate it, and it just blows up like some weird thing. And then they paint it. And you can lay it down on a table, and you can take like a hot iron, like a jeweler's waxing tool, right? And you can carve out a shape, and it will sort of seal itself closed. And then if you need to, you can glue down those edges if you have to. But you can make interesting shapes out of this stuff. And he sort of developed this technology, which we hired him to come and do it for us on something. And he's since taken it to other places. And you sometimes see it in movies, but you'd never know that it was just a bunch of plastic bags and air and paint and shit on it. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll fill it with methacellulose, which is that thick, slimy stuff that we talked about before. And you'll do like an inverted gag. Some of these gags were done inverted. So they had all the bags and they're ready to dump Methacel into it, so it would like unfold like a sock into a crazy form with this, fluid in it. And that's how they did a lot of that stuff, was all these plastic bags.
So like that cocoon chrysalis thing in the train earlier, and then I'm assuming when the blob starts going crazy in the lab, there's like a leak.
Yes.
And it's the
Totally.
same kind of thing? Yeah.
Totally. That is again just all plastic bag stuff.
Huh.
So there you go. This has been a Hollywood Minute.
So anytime somebody comes to the bid and they want to complain about it being overpriced, and you're like, hey, we're professionals. And then you're just getting a bunch of dry cleaning bags out of the dumpster from behind the CD1
Maybe you better cut
something.
this part out. We just went over to Toby Wong's and we grabbed a whole bunch of bags. Good stuff.
So our girl makes it into Los Angeles.
Yep.
And she's a little bit of a babe in the woods kind of feel, right? Our alien is learning things as she's going along, observing people, stops and buys a dress in the window and doesn't know how to pay for it and things like that.
Yeah. Learns how to dress like 80s Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 6-foot blonde wearing like a weird wedding dress walking down the streets of LA.
Yeah. Actually seems just appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem out of place.
Well, there is a line in the movie where they say, she's in LA and anything goes here. She'll fit right in. And then lo and behold, she kind of does.
Totally.
Checks into a hotel and, just like the rest of us, instantly starts watching porn.
That is true. I forgot.
She instantly finds the Spice Channel on the hotel TV and is like,
What is this magical mystery?
and continues to have strange dream sequences, pushing her to her ultimate purpose.
So, yeah, she fits right into LA. And I think that's when we go back and meet our scientists again. And Ben Kingsley's a scientist, right? And he's got a whole bunch of science guys that he's been working with on this thing for probably years.
Yeah.
Where they talk about all the information they got from the aliens to prove they were friendly. Like, oh, they gave us a really clean burning, new way to come up with methane or something like that. And like, okay, great.
Essentially, they gave us clean energy. But enough of that. Here's how we create a hot naked chick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clean energy, schmeen energy.
And then Michael Madsen, he's got that line, which I wish I could remember word for word what it was, but he's like, let me get this straight. You guys got a message from space that had some DNA in it, and you decided to make a monster, and now it got away, and you need us to kill it.
Yeah, he does at that point. What I was saying earlier, this movie trucks along. Yes, there's very little fat. They're moving scene to scene to scene, boom, 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 boom. This is probably 20 minutes into the movie, and here's Michael Madsen with a synopsis of everything that we've heard so far.
I think that was even in the earlier bit when they all first meet. But then in the second meeting when they're talking, they go, so why don't you just make like the regular version of the alien, and we'll see what that is. And then we can learn its weaknesses. And Ben Kingsley like, that's a good idea. I'm like, no one thought of this? No one?
Yeah.
Out of all the scientists working on this project, no one said, let's try making one by itself before we mix it with our DNA.
Totally dumb scientists, just like in so many other movies. And Ben Kingsley, again, he's just like, yeah, sounds good. Just looking to the horizon, like, I thought I saw a Benihana over there. Like, that hibachi for dinner tonight. He's just given the lines. I think he knows how dumb this movie is the whole time. You know?
Have you seen Sally with my per diem?
Yeah.
In this time period, if you were on a SAG contract, you got cash. You got per diem cash. So every week, they'd be like, here's your $400. And you'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going to eat here every day and give the rest to strippers.
Speaking of strippers, though, We cut back to Syl, and she talks to the hotel manager and just blatantly says, "Where can I find a man?" And he directs her to the club next door. Some good 90s action going on in that club.
Yep, totally.
Number one, I love the detail that there's a big line to get in there, and she's just walking straight to the front door, and the doorman sees her, and he's like, "Yep, you're in." And I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's an honest moment right there. Because
Totally.
if you saw that woman coming towards you, the doorman would be like, "Yes, 100% you can head inside. You don't need to wait."
By all means, I'm kicking some other chick out. Come on, honey, you're done with your drink.
But we get Syl mingling amongst her potential mates and gets cock-blocked.
Yeah,
And
by
she's
some other girl, yeah.
But boy, does she give that girl what for in the bathroom about
She
2
does.
minutes later.
Yeah. In what I think ended up being a reshoot, and kind of doesn't really make sense if you think about it, unless I misunderstood the layout of the bathroom. Suddenly, the girl goes into the toilet, and Syl's alien arm comes crashing through the back wall of the toilet and tears her spine out.
Yeah. Shocking. And
Yeah.
You definitely wondered, like, why did you have to go all the way around and punch through the wall to get to her spine? Why didn't you just get in the stall with her and devour her or something?
Yeah,
She really took the long way around on that.
She really did, which was odd, but whatever. Michael Madsen and the team will come and make some crack about it, I'm sure.
I guess there's no turning back. Yeah, the team will show up. They find that corpse of that woman, just spine sticking up in the air.
Yeah, fantastic. Good,
And she
good
had-
stuff.
Yeah, she just left with Robbie, I think his name was. She'd hopped in his car just as the team gets to the club, and they're like, "We're looking for this woman. She's 5'10", blonde. Would have been looking for a man. Blah 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 blah." And the guy at the club's like, "Oh, I think maybe Robbie left with a blonde." And Forrest Whitaker's like, "Yep, that's the one. That's the one. Let's go." Okay.
Yep. Of course, Robbie turns out to be a douchebag.
He does.
Yeah, because she figures out that he has something wrong with him, and she does not want to mate with him, even though that's why she wanted to take him home, was to mate with him.
Yeah, but then she finds out he's got the beatus.
Got the beatus, got the sugarfoot. So yeah, she doesn't want no piece of that, and he tries to take a piece of her anyway, and that's when she gives him a good-looking French kiss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right out the back of the skull.
Yeah, with strange alien tongue.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I had strange alien tongue, I'll be honest.
I did see in this scene, too, one of the most glaring examples of getting the boom in the shot.
Oh, really?
That
Oh,
I
good.
have seen
Good,
in a long time. It's
Yeah.
when they first come into the house. You just see they come through like a sliding glass door, and you just see in the reflection of the glass door the boom mic so clearly. I actually took a picture of it. I'll put it on Instagram because I was
nice.
like, wow, so apparent. It's so
Excellent.
right there.
That reminds me, I have a video of one of the plastic bag things that Bill Bryant built for us for a movie a few years ago, and that clip actually went viral on the internet.
Oh, it's the one that goes over your head?
Yeah, so I'll
that
put
one
that
is
on our
great.
Instagram as well. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, she tongues Robbie to death, which isn't as nice as it sounds.
Nope. It's not as nice as it sounds for sure.
So of course our team will get there too late, and I think again Forrest Whitaker's like, something bad happened here.
Yeah.
It's like a guy with a hole in his face and just
Yeah.
bleeding on the carpet.
And there's the hot tub had been bubbling, right? Or is that the next one?
That's the next scene.
Yeah, that's
the next scene.
That's the next guy. Yeah. Sorry,
Because she-
jumping ahead.
She's about to get hit and run on the
Yeah.
streets of L.A. Enter Mr. Nice Guy, who comes in and takes her to the hospital.
Yep. Where her scapula is all out of whack and her back is fucked up, and the doctor's looking at her, and we get some 90s CGI of her scapula sort of mending itself underneath the skin, and the doctor being like, "What's going on here? What's going on here?" Kind of having a little freak out.
Yeah, and then she leaves the hospital with that guy who has paid for her emergency room visit because he wasn't
super
sure
nice
if she
dude.
had insurance or not, so he just threw it on his credit card.
Yeah.
The 90s were a different time.
He's driving a convertible or Mercedes, so he's all right.
But obviously, Sil thinks she's found her potential mate.
Yeah.
So wants to go back to his house.
Yeah. We're a nice summer LA day. It's time to get in the hot tub.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where she starts moving pretty fast in
A little
that
too
hot
fast
tub.
for him.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, if you're that guy and you picked her up and you took her to the hospital and you're willing to throw your credit card down to take care of her bills, you've no idea what it's going to cost or even what her name is. And then she comes out and she's like, I'm fine. Let's go. And then you're like, okay, let's just go back to my place for a little bit. I'll show you what the hills look like, from my pool. And then, yeah, sure. No, you want to make out a little bit? That's cool. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, slow down.
And she's like, no. And then like the doorbell rings and she says, don't go. I want a baby.
Yeah. And he's like, what?
Yeah, it is. Listen, the movie's ridiculous, but this is one moment where it's legitimately funny, and the movie is almost like, yes, we know that this is ridiculous, that this woman just wants to fucking tear his swim trunks off and get it on, and then says what every man is longing to hear.
I want to have a baby.
Yeah. Normally when I pick up chicks in the emergency room, it takes a couple of times before I agree to have children with them. So he doesn't comply. She drowns him in the hot tub. We get a little face CGI bubble, like showing the monster within.
Yeah.
And then she flees the scene as our team gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Madsen, Forrest Whitaker, Marg Helgenberger, the whole gang is there.
It's not long before when they're there. I mean, maybe there's a scene cut away to something else and then a cut back when some guy comes up and goes, lab results are back. There's no semen in the water.
Yeah, that's
what?
it right there.
Like, what? How quickly did the lab get this worked out? That happened like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You've literally just been here 10 minutes. You've already got lab results back?
Yeah, they say no evidence of semen in the hot tub water. And I thought, like, ever? Like, none at all? Like, what's this guy doing in this hot tub then?
Yeah, this does not make any sense.
Yeah, I thought this guy was picking up random strangers from the emergency room and bringing them back home.
It seemed like that was his MO.
That hot tub should be filthy. This is where vagrant hobos go to take baths and get pregnant, isn't it? Lab results came back. That hot tub is actually nothing but semen. There's no water in there.
How weird. But when the guy says the lab results are back, there's no semen in the water, Michael Madsen goes, maybe she took it with her.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about
I laughed
that.
out loud. I'm like, oh, that is genius.
I hope that was an ad lib.
It had to be. It had to be. Nobody fucking wrote that line. I want to look up the script online to find out if somebody did, because I couldn't be anybody wrote that line. But I'm so glad that Michael Madsen said it, because it was perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Good stuff. And this movie, guess what? It's not slowing down, folks. It's going into hostage situation now.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Having fled the scene of the hot tub crime, Sil hides in a woman's car in a parking lot of a Safeway or something.
Yeah.
And then takes her hostage, steals the car.
Yeah.
And then, I think goes to the woman's house where she has her all tied up and starts a very intricate plot to fake her own death. We'll find out that's what's going on. But several steps have to happen here.
I'm unsure where she figured this out.
Me neither, because just a few scenes ago, she was learning everything she needed to know from the Spice Channel in the Motel 8 she was staying at.
She was getting her nutrients from King Dongs and Twinkies. Yeah.
And one of the things that she does in order to hatch this plan is apparently she needs to cut her thumb off.
Yeah. Which terrifies the woman to no end.
As it would.
As
you
it
just
would.
take some garden shears and clip your thumb off in front of someone.
Yeah. This is how little I care.
I wrote down the bloody thumb gag! Exclamation point. This movie has got it all.
And then drops that thumb into her purse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then clips the woman's thumb off, right?
Yep.
And disposes of it.
Yeah. It's just thumb clipping for everybody.
Yeah. And then takes her with her in the car. Gets involved in a chase, I think.
Yeah. First, she pumps a bunch of gas and puts it in the trunk.
Does she?
Remember that?
I must have missed that part.
She fills up like 2 5-gallon drums of gasoline and then puts it in the back. Like, again, where is she coming up with this one?
Was she watching episodes of Matlock or something?
I was just gonna say, was Chips on the TV?
Yeah.
in that hotel room, and we just didn't see this whole episode of like Banachek that sort of fueled her imagination.
It was on the Columbo channel while she slept. Yeah.
So she puts it in the trunk. She's got the woman tied up next to her. She's got at least one severed thumb floating around the car in there. Gets in a car chase, takes a left down a hill. She jumps out of the car just before it hits a couple, like a transformer or something.
Yeah, like one of those big giant ground power transformers. Yeah. Which was cool.
And kaboom!
Yeah.
And the movie is like it's not gonna stop. It's never gonna stop. It's going. And now it's the time in the '90s action movie where you need a big explosion, and Roger Donaldson is like, "Here you go, kids."
Yeah.
Giant mushroom cloud of fire going up into the air.
Yeah. Fantastic. And everyone went, well, I guess that's that.
Yep, let's go back to the club. Let's have a good time.
Yeah. Michael Madsen. I guess she's dead. And it was right. I think it was the scene. It's either the scene just after or the scene just before, where Michael Madsen is in the car with Marg Helgenberger, who's kind of been flirting with him a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, first of all, this movie is misogynistic as fuck.
Oh,
every
yeah.
single woman, every single female character in this movie is trying to get laid. From Syl herself to the chick that cock blocks her at the club to Marg Helgenberger, who's falling in love with Michael Madsen, who is kind of obviously a dick.
Yeah.
and a hired killer.
A trained killer, yeah. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess that's your thing, huh?
Yeah. And he's sitting in the car next to her, and he rattles off her name and address, and he goes, "That's you, right?" And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, nothing turns on a girl faster than letting her know how much personal information you have of her. And she says something like, yes. Like, she isn't turned off by it at all. And then, like, 10 minutes later, she's like, do you want to dance? Because they think it's all over. She wants to dance, and she's all, like, climbing all over him practically. And then she's like, I'm going up to my room. And then Forrest Whitaker's like, maybe you should go up to her room.
Yeah. Again, he's able to help the other characters, but can't help himself from being socially awkward. Forrest Whitaker has called out exactly where the plot has to go. The lazy script every single time. He knows every step they got to take next. You would think they would have given that character a little bit of agency, that maybe he could have had some game on the dance floor himself. Like, I know what that girl's favorite drink is, so I'm going to order it ahead of time. And be like, like anything. But no, he's just a socially awkward, inept character who's like, she's looking for some action. You should go give it to her. Like, I think I will, Forrest. Thanks.
Poor Alfred Molina sitting next to like, hey, I really... I really like her. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and that party was weird, too. I don't know if you noticed. It looked like, before, when they were in the club, it was like, oh, look at all these hot young people. But when they go back the second time, it was like a 40-year high school reunion or something. Like, what the hell has happened to everyone in this club? The quality has gone way down.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I guess when they find a woman with her spine sticking out of her back in the bathroom, it tends to change the clientele.
Yeah, into the older crowd. I'm not too worried about someone tearing my spine out.
So they head back. They head back to their hotel where we get Michael Madsen and Marg Helgenberger.
Yeah.
And
Let's get it on.
doing the wild thing, as Tone Loc might have said back in 1995.
Yeah. But Syl's not dead. She's been faking her death, and now she's cut her hair and she's dyed it black. And she goes and picks up Alfred Molina.
She does. She just appears in his room, and he's like, "What? Hey, this doesn't really happen to me." And then he just goes with it. Like, okay.
Nah, again, I don't know. I mean, that's a warning sign. Okay, you go into your hotel room and there's some strange girl in there, and she's like, we're gonna have sex right now. No, this is how I wake up without a kidney or part of a fucking satanic ritual. This is not a fucking Penthouse letter. Right?
I never thought it would happen to me.
Yeah, dear Penthouse. I'm a scientist.
I'll be on drugs for the rest of my life to help with the one kidney I have. But it was totally worth it.
I'm a scientist, and I'm somewhat socially awkward. But the other day...
Harvard Anthropology School did not prepare me for this. But yeah, he gets a little of that Arcturian poontang, as they might say in Aliens.
Yes, indeed.
And then
well played.
Another good, awkward sexual moment, as instantly Syl is like, "Ooh, I feel it. I feel conception happening in my belly."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, girl, you don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
She's like, "No, feel it." And he puts his hand on her stomach and is like, "Oh shit, this is weird." And then spikes grow out of her back, and that's a wrap on Alfred.
Yeah, poor bastard. We don't see him die on screen, though, do we? I can't
Not
remember.
really. I think you see the spines come out of her back, and then he realizes what's happened, and she covers his mouth before he screams, and that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah. And then we get into the final showdown and the chase and her turning into the full Syl creature, which is, again, a lot of puppets. There's some really cool stuff here, and this was the part that Giger was more involved in, and Giger never came to the States. He was sending faxes in the middle of the night that would arrive. They would come into the shop in the morning and find faxes with weird scribbles and drawings and notes that had come from Swiss time, essentially, and just wacky designs and thoughts. And when they made that puppet, it had a lot of mechanical stuff on the inside of it, but you don't really see it when you're looking, unless you were to, say, pause or look at photographs or something like that. But there's a lot of, like, metal machined discs that are a part of her anatomy. And
really?
Yeah, and the outside form, the outside shell is basically like a clear vacuum plastic that has some paint on top of it, but it's very translucent. So the whole puppet itself is pretty translucent. And they did a lot of great shots with that, and then they tried to duplicate it in CG form where it doesn't quite work.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. This is really when the movie, it really tanks at this part. Now, it's good, dumb fun up to this point, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Some of the writing is lazy and a little bit annoying, but it's essentially, a 90s action sci-fi thriller. It's working. You get to this part of the movie, and then it just becomes cheap, derivative horseshit. Now, all of a sudden, they're in, like, tunnels with the firepower, flashlights on the end of their gun, the aliens kind of stalking them, and it's just like an Alien knockoff at this
Completely.
point.
Yeah.
It's just become nothing but the Alien sequences that we've seen time and time and time again, and that have been ripped off time and time and time again. And you couple that with the sudden reliance on so much CGI in the last 10, 15 minutes of this movie, and it felt so slapdash to me. Like they really just tacked the ending on, and they were like, boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley goes down. It doesn't really get any sort of moment or come to Jesus as the scientist who created it. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. There's no closing the loop on that character. He just gets munched and taken under the water. They try and ramp up some tension with Forrest Whitaker and
the
Michael
baby
Madsen and
being born.
See the baby being born.
Yes,
underneath
the baby. The baby alien looks like a human with
Yeah.
nictating membrane.
But you know what? Doesn't look anything like Alfred Molina.
No.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
So if he was still around, I was like, maybe you gotta take this to Maury Povich, because I think you are not the father. Yeah.
Maybe there was semen in that hot tub.
Yeah, the baby stretches out and its tongue lashes out and it eats a rat, right?
Yeah.
Baby snacks on it, and then CGI baby comes after Forrest Whitaker, I think, who hits it with a flamethrower, maybe?
Yeah. Or a shotgun, or a
Yeah,
flashlight.
all of a sudden, baby, they have got firepower on their side. You
Yeah.
know, they've got like mortars and flamethrowers and all sorts of crazy weaponry down here. And they just stumble across like a whole lake of oil. Oh, it's oil.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was wondering that myself. I was like, they get down into these tunnels, and that looks like, it's almost like they're in a sewer system or something. And then Michael Madsen's like, that's oil. I'm like,
yeah.
huh? Did you guys just discover oil? Or is this like an oil reservoir? Like,
Yeah.
if you're really in a room full, can you breathe? Like, or is the air just like so like horrible that you can't? It's just roasting your lungs as you're trying to breathe. And what about using the flamethrower? Isn't that whole place just gonna blow up?
Yeah. Honestly, you think that because they do catch on fire and then they fall in the oil, and I thought, well, that's gonna make a big show. Not really.
Not so much.
Yeah, they say something like, oh, this area opened up after the last earthquake. And then they just, like, discover a whole lake of black gold. I was like, whoa.
Texas
bully, bully for you. This is a good day, after all.
Screw the Middle East. We're fine. Let's just get some pipes down here.
But yeah, you get the final sort of cat and mouse. Who is the alien gonna eat? Just takes out Ben Kingsley. Forrest makes it. Marge makes it. Michael Madsen has the last line, which I think is just... What does he say? Let her go, you motherfucker. And listen, the 90s, everybody wanted to hasta la vista their baby at this point.
Absolutely.
You know,
This is not a great one-liner for getting rid of that thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's no fuck you, Lucky Charms.
It's no fuck you, Lucky Charms. It's not let her go, you bitch.
Yeah.
Or whatever the aliens one is. What is it?
Yeah, let her go, you bitch.
Yeah, let her. Okay.
Or get away from her, you bitch.
Get away from her, you bitch. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's not. See you at the party, Richter.
No. Yeah, let her go, you motherfucker is pretty tepid when it comes to
And it's a
quips.
female creature too. So I mean, why is it a motherfucker?
Listen, there was a lot of weird stuff going on there at the end because, like, the boob tentacles come out and try and choke Michael Madsen to death.
Yeah. I forgot about the boob tentacles. That's a thing.
It is a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and it wasn't
That had to
working
be
for me.
a note from 3:00 in the morning from Switzerland. The breasts must have tentacles coming out of them.
It just doesn't work, honestly. Like, the thing about the Giger design with the xenomorph is that it is, we talked about this when we talked about Alien, but it's very psychosexual, and it's very penetrating and phallic looking and all that stuff. The design works with the psychology of it, but, like, what the hell do, like, tentacles have to do with coming out of boobs to strangle you?
Yeah.
You know?
So good, though. There was some tentacle stuff earlier that when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that looks like a reverse shot. They're really floppy and really doing like a weird kind of thing. And when I talked to Joe, he said, yeah, they were on a drill motor and they were attached to a plate that was oblong like a cam. So it would rotate at an off time. And it was a whole bunch of tentacles. Yeah, exactly. It had all these tentacles attached to the plate that would rotate on the cam, and then they drag it across the floor, firing the drill motor in one direction, and then they could switch the direction and flip them the other way, and then they shot that in reverse. So it ends up being this weird, crazy, floppy tentacle thing that crawls across the floor super fast. I think it's when they were giving birth to the DNA of the regular version of the Alien with Marg and Michael Madsen in the room there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing it and thinking, that's really cool. I love the oblong off time.
Oblong off time. Sounds like Giger's autobiography. I will send you the faxes in oblong off time. Achtung, oblong off time.
My favorite Kraftwerk album is Oblong Off Time.
Yes, in the Bauhaus tradition, this will be oblong off time. And also und auf Kilte.
Und collapsing new buildings. Which, of course, is Einstürzende Neubauten. For all of you music nerds.
What else?
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
So, okay. How many titty tentacles do you give Species?
I believe the areola opens up, and out comes a proboscis that is finger-like, and it draws a number in the sand, and the number is 7.5.
7.5.
Yes.
Mein Lieben. Also from the opposite side of the breast.
Yes.
Yes. The other areola opens up also with a proboscis, but this splits into 5 sections for 5.
So you give it 5 proboscis fingers from the breasts?
You heard me.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I guess I liked it more.
Yeah, listen, it's good dumb fun. It's
Absolutely.
better than Leprechaun.
Yeah.
But like you said, it is unabashedly sort of misogynistic in a lot of its
ragingly misogynistic.
But it trucks. Once it starts, it's cruising through until, for me, it's really that last act is when it truly becomes a cheap Alien knockoff and they use that CGI way too much. That's when the movie kind of loses it for me. So I would rate it higher if they had just stuck the landing, but I feel like it kind of crash lands there.
Okay, so would you recommend?
Oh boy, would I recommend? I mean, it's a good fun time. It is a fun time. It's a fun, stupid movie. But would I say, like, you got to seek this movie out and watch it? No. I think you're fine. I think you're fine not seeing this one.
I think it's worth seeking out and watching because it is dumb fun. Just to see Michael Madsen say lines like, maybe she took it with her. This is Michael Madsen at, like you said, peak Madsen. There's Reservoir Dogs. There's this. There's other Tarantino movies that he's been in.
And Free Willy.
Well,
should we head into the lobby here, and then we'll come back and talk about...
Cuckoo. Yes. Good one. Nice. All right. See you in a minute.
All right. Oh.
Hey, fellas, don't fight over that hot dog. There's plenty for everyone. Big, plump, and juicy, wrapped in an oven-fresh bun. Add mustard, relish, ketchup, and go to work. Yes, the hot dogs at our refreshment center are the best you'll find anywhere. Everybody agrees on that.
Oh, we are back from the lobby.
We're back from the lobby. Here we are.
I did not expect to strike oil in there.
No.
Must have been left over from the Species party. There was just a broken half a spine, a giant pool of oil,
and a hot tub full of semen.
Species, rated R. No, now we're here to talk about 2024's Cuckoo.
Yeah, Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, directed by Tillman Singer. After a family tragedy, angsty teenager Gretchen is sent to live with her father, stepmother, and stepsister in a remote alpine resort. It's not long after when a number of strange occurrences and bizarre incidents begin to break through her teenage apathy, and Gretchen starts to fear for her safety and even survival. Cuckoo is anchored by performances from Hunter Schafer as Gretchen and Dan Stevens as Herr Koenig, who make sure that even when this story gets wild, and it goes cuckoo, the movie still delivers the goods. Cuckoo, rated R, 2024. Mike, what'd you think of?
This is a weird fucking movie,
You can say that again.
but ultimately I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. It's so hard to say. Like, I'll tell you what, I watched it twice, right?
Sure.
First time I was like, huh, okay. Some of this is pretty creepy. Some of this is cool. Some of this is kind of whatever. Nothing special about it.
Sure.
It reminded me very much of an 80s Italian giallo film, right?
Oh.
From
Oh,
some
yeah?
of the characters to the colorizations to the music. I really like the use of music. I like the European rock music and the weird themes they had going from time to time. And I thought that was all pretty cool. It definitely feels like a European film as opposed to like an American horror movie. Who knows? Maybe we're going to remake it into something shitty in the next 6 months to a year. I guess I wouldn't be surprised. But
I mean, I would hope not. It's got American performers in it. The director is German, but I don't put anything past Hollywood to try and remake something and make a fucking extra dollar on it.
what's that one that just came out? See No Evil? Literally 6 months after a fucking Norwegian movie, which is a very well done movie, but a very depressing movie and a very unhappy movie at the end. To the point where I was like, I'm not going to watch that movie again. And then they make an American remake out of it, like literally within six months. I don't know. Maybe it's not 6 months. Maybe it's a lot longer than that, but still hasn't been that long. So I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to remake Cuckoo. But it's a fun movie. And like I said, I saw it twice. I watched it twice, like I'm sure you did as well. And the second time, I realized it's a lot funnier than I think it is. Like the first time, I think I was taking it all pretty seriously, and the second time, I was starting to feel it for the laughs.
Okay.
For the few times that there are legitimate laughs in this movie. Some of the characterizations, like Dan Stevens, man, he is playing up to me what reminds me of an old 1940s World War II war movie with a Nazi. And he is the Nazi in every World War II war movie.
Yeah.
He's just missing the cigarette with the extension on it.
He has a air of menace about him throughout the whole movie, that even when he's being kind to the other people in the movie, there's something you're just waiting for a somewhat nefarious turn of the phrase, or perhaps just an action on his part that you're always uneasy whenever he's around. Yeah. Even when he has a smile on his face.
Yeah, exactly.
This is good.
You two
Dan
lovebirds
Stevens
are here now.
Yeah. Yeah. They even kind of introduce his character that way when you first see him. Like
They totally
the father, who's played by Martin Chokash, meets him, and they have like a little. It's kind of like a standoff, like. And then they laugh about it. It's a joke, but that undercurrent of menace.
Completely. Yeah. It's like you never want to trust what this guy says. Never.
I'll tell you, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, the trailer is so hard to follow. It's hard to put together, like, what the fuck is going on in that movie? You know, normally you get some sort of idea about what the movie is about or what kind of forces might be working against the protagonists, what the threat might be. The trailer for Cuckoo is just it is cuckoo. It's bonkers. It's just like I couldn't make heads or tail of it. And I thought that the whole movie was actually going to be that way. It's not. Although the story is crazy and you kind of have to figure it out as you go along, it's never so obtuse.
Yeah, the beats are pretty standard.
Exactly. Once you start catching on, the beats kind of fall into place, and then you sort of realize what kind of picture you're watching. Frankly, I was surprised by that and kind of delighted. You know, especially because it's from a German director. Some of the things that I've seen come out of Germany in the last couple of years have been really hard to piece together.
Sure.
And I was worried that this might follow suit, and it does
Like
not.
The Dark?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I loved Dark. I really
great.
did love that series.
It's great.
That one that he did, that guy followed up with that 1899 show. I think it's called 1899. I did not like that one.
I couldn't get into it. Yeah, it was like 2 episodes, and then I forgot that I was watching it.
Yeah.
Never
Well,
went back.
For me, the pitfall about that show was that they never give you enough information to keep you on the hook. At least, I'll speak for myself. They never gave me enough information to keep me on the hook and keep me engaged in watching it. It was just one mystery followed by another mystery, followed by another mystery, followed by another mystery. And for me, as an audience member, at some point you have to start answering some questions. So I feel like I am, following a sort of coherent storyline. I thought I was going to get that with Cuckoo. It does not, actually. And I loved Hunter Schafer in this movie. Hunter Schafer as Gretchen. I thought they were wonderful.
How does he say it?
Gretchen?
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 Yeah. And then Hunter corrects him.
It's Gretchen. He's like, yeah, Gretchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're wonderful. The angsty teenager portrayal, they get there, they're all like, this place sucks, everybody's weird, and it's kind of like that standard teenage thing, I don't want to be on this vacation.
Yep.
And then you find out they are correct. In fact, it is quite weird. But instead of the story just indulging like, okay, the teenager is right about these things, and the teenager can sort of do no wrong, and they've got their finger on it, no. They are still, Hunter is still, that character Gretchen is still a self-absorbed, pain in the ass, immature, irresponsible teenager. Just because they have it right about this place doesn't sort of absolve them of being like an actual, I think, very truthful portrayal of just a self-absorbed, bratty teenager.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then he's like, "Oh, I would like to offer you a position. There is not much to do in town here, so perhaps you would come and work for me at the club, or not at the. Is it the hotel? Is that what it was?
The resort.
The resort. At the resort, while your parents are building the new one."
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes without spoilers just to say like that Gretchen will just be completely irresponsible at that job.
Yeah. Terrible at the job. I don't give a shit about the job.
Make sure you do X, Y, and Z, and then
and then
like, sure.
X, Y, and Z do not happen. Yeah. There's no smoking in here. Light one up. Totally that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Before we get into spoilers, obviously we're going to give it our ratings, but how are we going to rate this one in particular?
How many whistles do you wish to give it?
Okay. Oh.
How many German flutes?
How many German flutes? Yeah, let's give it German flutes for sure, because he does break that out a couple of times, and I kept thinking Cuckoo must love the Jethro Tull. So how many German flutes would you give Cuckoo?
I would give Cuckoo 7 German flutes.
Is that 7?
I think so.
Okay. I was taking a look at how I've rated things so far. And being that this is kind of our end of the year episode, right? It's dropping right around New Year's Eve. I gave In a Violent Nature a 7. I gave Maxine a 7. I gave I gave everything a fucking 7. Alien Romulus was a 7. Late Night with the Devil I gave a 7.
Wow.
Long Legs I gave a 6.66 because, it's not quite as good as 7 and it was evil. Oddity 8.5. First Omen 8 and Substance 9. I like this movie better than Violent Nature, Alien Romulus, Long Legs, and Late Night with the Devil, but not as much as The First Omen. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did not like this one as much as I liked Late Night with the Devil. I liked that one more than this one. But I did enjoy this one. Yeah. I did have a good time with this one. Largely, for me, the things that stick out are just the performances from Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens.
Yeah. Those were great.
Really sort of held this wackiness down.
And I'm not trying to say that Species is a better movie than Cuckoo. Because if you go back and you look at, like, obviously Halloween 3 Season with a Witch, I gave it an 8, you gave it a 2.5 because you have no taste.
Come on. That movie is shit.
I gave it an 8 for nostalgia and my love of just having a love for that movie over the years. So Species is just a fun movie. So it's like a 7.5 on the popcorn scale. Whereas you gave it a 5, and that's not a bad rating for a movie like that because it's not a great movie. It's a 5 or a 6, but I gave it a 7.5 because it's fun and popcorny. Cuckoo isn't as fun or popcorny. It's a little weirder, but it's well done.
Sure.
And it does have a certain amount of fun to it, and it is creepier and scarier than Species, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think they pair well together. And we can get into that in the spoilers.
In the spoilers, for sure. Yes, this definitely has more creep factor to it than Species does. Because Species is always kind of action forward. And if there's any scares, they're jump scares at you.
Yeah.
Cuckoo has more atmosphere. Like you said, it does feel a little bit more like a foreign film. Whereas Species feels like a Roland Emmerich sort of...
Completely.
Summertime popcorn action movie. You know, it's in the vein of Independence Day.
Yes, which is another shitty movie that is kind of great.
Yeah, very much in the same school. Because, what's his name? Tillman Singer does a very good job. I'm not sure they would have the chops to pull off like what Roger Donaldson did at the beginning of Species, where he has like 4 helicopters in the air and a bunch of armed military guys running through. Like, it's just a much different vibe. But yeah, we did pair them together for a reason.
This is his first movie, too, his first real movie. I mean, he's directed a couple of shorts, or he's written a couple of shorts, and he wrote a screenplay for something called Lose, which was in 2018. But
did he not direct Lose? Lose is
he
a
wrote and
possession
directed
story.
It.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, so I'm not sure.
Nor have I. I just heard an interview where he was talking about Lose was a stressful situation, but it was sort of like a crucible for this one. Like he had to kind of cut his teeth on knowing what it was like to make a picture like that, so he could come into Cuckoo and stress himself out even more.
Well, he's certainly a competent director and writer.
Sure.
And did a great job. And like I said, it reminded me of Italian giallo films because it's got like the police detective and the strange characters and the music and the colors. And I thought it's got a really cool feel to it, but it's not something I'm going to watch over and over.
No, and as bonkers as the script is, perhaps you watch this movie and criticize it and not like it. The script doesn't fall apart, I don't think, ever. Like, it's a real bonkers story, but he keeps it together. He keeps the story moving forward. Yeah, definitely worth checking out. I would recommend this one to horror fans before I would recommend Species to horror fans.
No, you're not wrong. Like I said, Species is a popcorn movie. All right, let's go to the lobby, and then let's come back and sort of break down some of the wacky things and the reason why we think it pairs well with Species. We'll be right back after this.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the diva to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
We are back from the lobby, and we are going to break down and spoil Cuckoo right now.
That's right. So, if you haven't seen, make sure that you pause on the podcast, go watch it, come back and join us. Because this one definitely has some secrets to it.
Yeah.
Including, why the fuck did we pair these movies together?
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that the place is called Alpschatten, and I immediately thought Mountain of Shit. That's the resort, it's Alpschatten. I didn't look it up to see what the translation was, but I just went with Mountain of Shit. I thought that was pretty...
Alpschatten, sure,
Yeah.
that works for me.
And I already talked about how much I love that he sounded like an old Nazi. And my first watch through, I was like, this is Nazi Bradley Cooper. Because you'd catch him in like certain light, and it'd be like, guy looks like Bradley Cooper. But really, under the second viewing, he's Nazi Cary Elwes.
Yeah. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, I am a big fan of Dan Stevens. I actually think his body of work that he's kind of put together is phenomenal. And I mean, you look at, he was the love interest on Downton Abbey in the heyday of that. That's where he first made his splash. But he has done such a wide variety of stuff. He's in that Eurovision movie where he plays like the Russian contestant, and he has that like, I don't know, Love Tiger song or whatever. That crazy thing is. I think he's played Charles Dickens. He was on that Legion TV show where he played the schizophrenic character who had mutant powers. He speaks fluent German. I know he's been in some German movies as well. So I was kind of thrilled to see him show up here. But yeah, Herr Koenig is his character, and I was like, this guy has a large Speedo collection. You know what I mean?
This guy is not afraid to bear it all at a beach wearing a Speedo.
He loves wearing the old schmuggelplum, the old banana hammocken.
Yeah. 14 is his limit on Schnitzengruben.
Baby, please. He is not from Havana.
Yeah. So Gretchen, when she gets into the lobby, right, to start the job, and some woman is wandering around the lobby and just pukes on the floor.
Yeah.
And then the other gal in the lobby's like, it happens. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean that happens? Like, why does this happen?
There's so much puking in this movie, and I don't think you ever see anyone clean any of it up.
No. In fact, at one point, the police detective is like, not in here! So, the character of Gretchen, she gets a job, she's in the lobby, random woman pukes, and then the other girl is like, I gotta go do something, you stay here. It's her first day on the job for Gretchen, right?
Yeah.
And stays there to man the till or take care of any, guests that happen to come in. And her character is ready to leave, and Herr Koenig calls her, and he's sort of upset that she is still there, right?
Yeah. The stage was set a little bit early that she would not be working after sundown.
Right.
Because she didn't have a car. Gretchen was on a bike.
Yeah, and he's like, you must lock up immediately and leave.
But as I was kind of alluding to earlier,
he says he'll
like,
come get her. He says he'll come get her, right? Yeah.
In the teenageness of this, she never listens to anything that any of the adults are saying. Whether it's a suggestion or a warning, she just doesn't seem to really give a shit about that. Gretchen doesn't really care, right?
Yeah.
And when he calls her on the phone, he's like, you're still there. Well, just lock all the doors, and I will be there in just a moment to pick you up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should also say quickly that Hunter Schafer is a they, them, but we are referring to the character as a she because that's what the character is.
Indeed. So he says, just lock everything up, and I will be there to pick you up in just a moment. And Gretchen's like, okay. And then you cut to Gretchen on a bike leaving with all the doors open and unlocked.
The door's wide open and unlocked. I'm like, what a fucking bitch. Like, seriously? Are you trying to get fired on your first day? Yeah. Like, that is some of the obvious comical moments that on the second watch through made me think, is this a comedy? And there just isn't that many funny lines in it?
It was such a great portrayal of a teenager from script to screen on this. Tillman Singer, who wrote and directed this, I have no doubt that stuff was written in there. And our heroine here, who is recognizing all these odd things that are going on, is still just like a apathetic, pain-in-the-ass, self-absorbed teenager.
Yeah.
And there's just no way around it.
Absolutely.
But she takes her bike and she's going down the hill and she's heading home. And I really thought that this was a cool moment.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene. And I'll tell you, the first thing that's creepy to me about this scene is she's wearing those big boxy headphones at night, riding a bike. And I'm like, you cannot hear a single thing. And that in itself is scary. Yeah. Knowing that she is deaf to the world. Yeah. And there is something chasing her.
And you see the point of view, the bike is coming towards, and you just see a shadow run across the street in the background.
Yeah. Good
and then
stuff.
You cut to a different angle as the bike is going down the street, down the mountain road at nighttime, and it's a long shot, and in the distance you see somebody running, keeping pace with the bicycle, running through the yards of the bungalows.
And Gretchen is hauling ass on that bike, too.
She is, but also, like you said, headphones on, completely oblivious, and then you get an overhead shot of the bike passing under the streetlights. You see like the shadow. Shadow.
That was that was a well-directed moment.
Shadow. And then this time you see like a figure behind her reaching out towards her on the bike. Another shadow.
And this is when Gretchen sees the shadow.
She sees the shadow on the ground and turns and looks behind her. And this is when you get the first look of our monster in this, which appears to be some woman wearing sort of like a kerchief around her head and some glasses with glowing red eyes behind it, arms stretched out in a trench coat and racing after her.
Dressed like a school marm. You expect her to have pin curls in.
Yeah, so odd.
Yeah.
And then, Gretchen just throws it into another gear and tries to get to the quickest place she can, which is a hospital in this place, but it's all locked up, and she starts hitting the intercom button, screaming, "Let me in, let me in, let me in," and then this figure appears in the distance, and you're like, oh, shit. And they let her in. The first door opens, and Gretchen tries to get into the hospital and just face first into a closed, locked door, glass door.
Yeah. Cuts open her head, blood all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it was that truthful, awkward teenage moment of being in such a panic. You have no self-awareness. You just run into the thing. I thought it was great, Yeah. Kind of knocks herself silly. And then I think she just wakes up in a hospital bed after that, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Danger averted. Get some staples in her head here.
Yeah, staples in the head. That was nice.
They stitch her. This movie is really light on any sort of gag or extensive
It's no Species
shots or anything. Yeah, no, nothing like that.
No,
it's all
nobody spent a
light.
year coming up with innovative shit for this one. Yeah, there's no plastic bag monsters. There is just some veiny stuff and a little bit of a forehead piece and some lenses and some weirdly painted teeth.
Yeah, this movie is relying on its atmosphere and the creepy storyline and characters to deliver
which is
the
fine.
goods.
It doesn't need a lot of stuff,
No.
It's very sufficient at what it does as it gets there.
So she smashes her head into that window, splits her open. She's going to get a staples. And that brings me to one thing that I really, really dig about this movie, and that is how banged up Gretchen will get.
Everyone gets.
Yeah. But our heroine going to get absolutely beat to hell by the end of this movie.
Yep.
And everything has an impact. I get so irritated when I see movies where, like, people get punched in the face repeatedly, and then they have no black eye or marks or bruises or swelling or thing to show for it. Maybe that's ego of the people involved. You know, they don't want to cover them up with makeup or fuck them up too much.
Yeah.
But Gretchen, by the end of this movie, looks like
she is fucked
hell. Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
happens
she
over
is.
the course of, I don't know, how many days do you think this takes place? 3 days? 4 days, maybe?
Maybe 3. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
she just gets beat to shit. Yeah. So after the hospital, nobody believes her that she was being chased by a woman, you know, the strange woman. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's this strange woman. Yes, tell us more. But nobody really buys it.
And her parents who are there, apparently there's something else going on with their daughter. So
Yeah, her half-sister.
Gretchen's half-sister
Yeah.
is having some issues and is being taken into the hospital there as well.
Yeah, she has a seizure. That's a cool scene, by the way, with Gretchen playing the bass with the headphones on, and then you hear
Yep.
the cuckoo, the sound going in the background, the
Yeah.
or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
And then that's the first time we're introduced to the time warp, too, where the character that hears the sound of the cuckoo is sort of like stuck in a loop and hypnotized, essentially. And I got the feeling this is what it's like to be hypnotized. You're just stuck in this little loop of that same 15, 20 seconds that you continuously relive. You're like, oh, wait a minute, doesn't this just happen? But you're just sort of locked in I imagine you're locked in a frozen space in that moment with your mind just repeating what you did the last 15 seconds over and over again.
Yeah, it's really neat. The
Yeah.
sound design, that warble that happens, and then the way they connect it to the edited time loops, I thought's a really effective and simple effect in this.
Absolutely
it's just
simple.
done to great effect in this movie.
And this is a movie that takes, like you say, great effect in its simplicity, but also is very unique. Mm-hmm. This is where it starts to be a very unique storyline of what this cuckoo thing is. It's this woman with weird eyes and strange teeth and veins on her face that makes this warbling noise. And I love the close-up of the neck moving. That is such a cool thing. And they keep showing it over and over and over. Every time you hear the sound, you get the little close-up of the neck warbling at the bottom.
The larynx or whatever it is there, like
really
vibrating.
Yeah, really fucking cool.
Yeah, because it's shortly after she comes back from the hospital there that she's approached by sort of a raggedy man who says he's a police officer, and he says, like, look, I believe you. I believe you saw this woman chasing you. Yeah. And I
want to catch
help
this woman. She's a murderer.
Yeah, you need to help me. Mm-hmm. And our apathetic teenager is actually cool with, like, sure, let's do something.
Care.
She's bored at the resort. So she goes on a stakeout with him, and they stake out the Lover's Nest bungalow or whatever. It's one of the bungalows there at the resort.
Actually, before that is when she meets Ed. Remember Ed?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's after the hospital incident. She's got the knock on her head, and she's back in Herr Konig's resort. And this woman comes up and wants to get a room. And it's actually the next morning, isn't it, when they hook up?
I think so, because she's got the head wound. She's got, like, the bandage on her head when she first meets.
Yeah. Yeah, I might be screwing up the timeline a little bit, but the funny part about Ed is she says, do you smoke? And then Gretchen says, yes. And then they cut to them outside smoking, making out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that must be a lesbian come-on line that I don't know anything about. Do you smoke? This is how girls from Paris come on to people. Because she is a Parisian, as she stated. And it's after that, and I think maybe she had been approached by the cop, and then we get to meet Ed, and then she wants to leave with Ed, Is that after the first thing with the cop when she leaves with Ed in the car and we hear the warbling again and then there's the accident and she gets even more fucked up? That's after the stakeout?
No, I think that's before the stakeout. See, I feel like I'm trapped in my own time loop too.
I know, right? We are caught in the cuckoo's warble at the moment. Like didn't we just talk about the stakeout?
She tries to leave with Ed, and eventually, like, the warble will start affecting them as they're driving.
Yeah.
And then they see the woman in the road. Ed swerves. The car does a tumble. And then as our girl is kind of bleeding in the wreckage of the car...
Another great shot. Her upside down.
Yeah, the woman is peeking in the window, reaching out for her... And you hear gunshots.
That's right. Shot by the cop.
And the Raggedy Man, the Raggedy Officer, comes to her rescue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ed will go back to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Where she can hit on nurses and ask if they smoke.
And our girl Gretchen will get like a full cast on her arm now, too. So
yeah. Like a Mad Max fucking style cast.
Man,
with the joint at the elbow and the braces all up and down, and she can't move it, and she's starting to limp now too. She's got the bandage on her head. She is all messed up.
Yeah, and we still got a lot of movie to go too.
Yeah,
and she is limping around.
She is already rough trade at this point.
But yeah, they stake out the Lover's Nest bungalow with the cop, and this is where we see her colleague and the police officer from the resort get hypnotized by the cuckoo's call.
Yeah.
And through the window, the cop sees the lady hypnotizing the woman and getting down and reaching underneath her coat.
Yeah. This is where we tie in with Species.
Yes. And this is the whole reason for the pairing right here.
Yeah.
And this is where essentially the movie kind of, like I said, it's weird. There's some mysteries, but it really keeps you in the dark. Like Mike, you said, the story beats just kind of, they unfold in order. And here's where you get to understand, if you know what a cuckoo bird is, where this movie is going. Because our entity here, bad guy or lady who's been chasing, is essentially trying to implant her eggs into another woman.
Yeah, much like Syl was trying to get impregnated.
This is our procreation episode.
Yes, we are pro-creation.
This is the birds and the bees and the cuckoo and the species.
Yeah, ooh, nicely done. Did you write that?
That's pay me the big bucks.
That's right.
Don't forget to join our Patreon.
Don't forget to join the Patreon at the $4 level. We'll come up with more quips. Just like that one.
She's going to put her eggs in another woman, and it's so fucking bananas. It's so bonkers.
It is. She's reaching out with a slimy hand that's dripping, that methicellulose that we've talked about so many times. And it's just, you're just like, wait a minute, okay, I get it. You're like,
it will be interrupted here by Gretchen, who comes in through the front door, and how do they get out of this one? Oh, the cop comes in with the gun in his hand, and it's like wrapped in a pillowcase.
Oh,
and he starts shooting at her, and then she and the cuckoo woman runs away.
Yeah. That was cool. With the pillowcase over the gun to make it a silencer, and he fires it, and then it starts it on fire. I was like, that's a great shot.
Yeah. But he does not hit her, and we will find out many times in this movie
he's a terrible shot. He's a terrible shot. Yeah. Yeah, we learned this. We learned this till the end of the movie. Herr Koenig's not a very good shot either.
I know. I actually really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I made a note on that too.
So now, obviously, our girl Gretchen has caused a lot of problems.
Yep. Yeah.
They have interrupted this cuckoo ceremony, and Herr Koenig is not thrilled about it.
No.
Okay, Gretchen, you do not like it here. We'll just get you off the resort. But then he pulls her off into a small little antechamber, like an empty pool with a bed. And he pulls out his little cuckoo flute.
Yeah.
and summons...
This is why the Cuckoo would love Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
Because he plays a bit from Aqualung, I'm pretty sure.
In the shuffling madness comes the Cuckoo Bird. Yeah. Actually, not the Cuckoo Bird we've seen, but rather a younger
A different one.
girl.
Yeah, one that we met actually in the opening sequence.
The very opening sequence of the movie, this girl freaks out and runs out of her apartment or bungalow or wherever she's at. And now here she is again. Mm-hmm. And from a control room, Herr Koenig and his cronies are trying to give her instructions on how to impregnate our girl Gretchen. Whether or not she's going to be able to do it or not, they're sort of walking this young cuckoo bird through the process.
Yeah, and they've got headphones on, so they can't hear the cuckoo's call, but they can talk to her through the microphone and so on and so forth. But Hunter is sort of trapped on the bed, mesmerized by the call of the cuckoo.
Yeah, and again, another one of those time loop sequences, which is pretty great. And what I liked about this one, too, is you saw Gretchen try to arm herself, right? I didn't see it coming. She goes to the bed, she pulls up the mattress, there's the wooden slats that are holding the mattresses up, she snaps one in half. I was like, fuck, that's good thinking right there.
Yeah.
Like, you found a weapon in where there apparently was not one.
Yeah.
But
thank you, IKEA.
Keeps triggering, and then eventually she is stunned by the young cuckoo, and you think perhaps it's gonna happen, but then rescued again by the Raggedy Man, right?
Yeah.
The cop comes, he has gotten free,
shoots Herr Koenig again. Terrible shot, wings him in the shoulder,
takes him out for the moment. He does take out the other cuckoo bird, though. I think he shoots that girl, because we never see her again.
Yeah, I think so.
But after she's rescued by the Raggedy Man, he wants to go back to the treatment center, right?
Yep.
Gretchen's sister is now being held there.
Yeah, that's when we realized that the sister was... there's that touching moment, right? And this is actually a good scene. It's a great scene between Gretchen and the Raggedy Man cop. And it's after you've found out, because you've seen her make a couple of phone calls to her mother throughout the movie, crying on the phone, leaving a message for her mother. And then you find out that her dad sold the house and mother's dead. And she's just calling the answering machine because she likes to hear her mother's voice and then speaks out to her. So the cop talks about how his wife was killed. And then she brings up this emotional story about her mother. And says that sometimes she just likes to call her and speak to her. And he's got his head down on the table, and it's a long scene, and it's emotional, and she's slowly reaching her hand out to him. She just kind of lays her hand on top of his to kind of caress his hand and let him know that it's going to be okay. And he sort of looks up at her, and then the clock goes, cuckoo! And again, I burst out laughing. Because I was like, here's this really sentimental scene that you just ruin at the end with an actual cuckoo clock making the fucking noise.
And it seemed like such an out-of-place cuckoo clock, too.
Completely like out of place.
Everything in that resort, although maybe not always the most modern, it was not necessarily like Bavarian provincial or whatever the fuck a cuckoo clock is supposed to represent. So the fact that they just had one there to break that moment up was pretty funny.
It was good, And then that's when they end up going to the hospital. She wants to rescue her sister because now she's like, this is my sister. And the cop is like, your sister is one of them because your parents were here at the resort. They had their honeymoon here. Oh, my God. He impregnated your stepmother long ago. And your sister's one of them.
Yeah, and you get a little bit of exposition delivered by one of Herr Koenig's hench people who says, unlike the cuckoo bird that leaves the other birds to raise the offspring, this variation of animal, whatever this thing is, will return to
claim its young.
Yes, exactly. And then that will ratchet up, essentially switch on the abilities of the young one as well. So,
Yeah. So that's where we get our final showdown in the hospital, and Herr Koenig shows up to basically wipe the slate clean and kill everybody and start
Yeah.
it all over again somewhere else because he knows the jig is up.
And my number one problem with this movie really boils down to this. And it is, why is he doing this? And I don't mean like, why is he destroying everything? I get that. I just mean like, why is he doing any of this?
Yeah. None of that is ever discussed or clear.
No.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like little sort of mysteries and things left unsaid in this movie. But the most central one to me is, he says he's like a preservationist, but are we to believe that this monster is a naturally occurring thing?
That he found?
And that he's trying to make sure it doesn't go extinct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is this something that they made, but they're still trying to make sure that it, can survive and thrive? Mm-hmm. I was a little unclear about his motivations and the motivations of the whole team behind all of this.
Didn't seem like there was money involved. All these people were just working on this project, I guess.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like a government-funded thing or anything like that. It was just, here you've got Herr Koenig, who I guess is kind of a scientist, who's got a resort, and he's got all these other medical people working for him, and he's trying to get this cuckoo thing to make more cuckoos.
But they're terrible. Like, to what end? Why would you want to do this? And I never really understood it. He says a couple things like, each new generation is more powerful than the last.
Yeah, so why? What for?
Yeah, what are they doing? Like, more powerful? How? And, like, are you using that somehow?
Are you going to hypnotize world leaders?
At one point, I remember the second time I watched it, he says something like, and this is when the whole shithouse is going up in flames. He mutters something about hundreds of years of research. And I was like, hundreds of years of research? So, like, there were people before you that were doing this?
Your grandfather and your great-grandfather came up with this shit? Was she discovered in World War I, maybe?
What is going on? And
the cuckoo was discovered in the trenches of Verdun.
Yeah.
She was eating a rat.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Ultimately, I gotta take points off this movie for that. Because it never becomes clear, and where I'm okay with some of the mysteries and ambiguities in the movie, like the wigs are another thing in here. Like, why does he dress the cuckoo up that way?
Yeah, they already have hair, but then I guess the hair starts to fall out.
Yeah, but at one point he like opens a closet and you see like 12 wigs. They're all the same wig in there, and he takes like a new one out. Yeah. And I was like, are you dressing them? Are they all supposed to represent one person? Or like, why?
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me either. But that's another, like, it felt like another nod to a Giallo film. Or to, like, Dress to Kill, right?
Again, see, that one I'm fine with. That one is just a weird little bit that I can have fun trying to decipher why that might be.
Yeah.
The overall, like, what is your motivation for doing this, though? That one sticks with me a little bit more.
Absolutely. That is the biggest fault of this. This movie is so unique, it doesn't know where it came from or what it's doing.
It does have a little bit of that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does, absolutely. So he's there. He's setting things on fire. He's killing people. He's killing, like, his henchmen. It's all done. It's all over. We got to start again, I guess.
He's bringing it all down. Yeah.
Yeah, down to hell. So we get Gretchen saving Alma, her little sister, who, by the way, has not said a single word this entire movie. She's quiet, right?
That's right. She's done sign language.
And she has a little device, like a talking device that she can type into, and it can
I guess
talk.
she can't talk because she's a cuckoo?
Well, that's where it's heading, right? Yeah. And you get Herr Koenig and the raggedy policeman are both there. Raggedy policeman wants to take Alma out. Herr Koenig wants to take Gretchen out, I guess, because she knows too much. And Gretchen just trying to save her sister. It all culminates back at that center, and the cuckoo bird, the woman, is there, screaming, stalking her through the stacks and everything.
Yep.
And Raggedy Man essentially does the domino bookcase thing on him, crushing the cuckoo bird and her before
I don't think that's ever really
escapes.
going to hurt anybody too well. You know, that's not an effective way to do anything.
No, you really gotta pray that you catch their head between a couple bookcases. But most of the time, there's room to take cover.
No, you're just tipping over a fucking bookcase full of folders and papers. That's not going to hurt anybody.
But you get our girl beat to shit again in some sort of accident, trapped under this stuff, as the cuckoo bird is climbing over the stuff, screaming at her. He's trying to fight it off with earphones and all that stuff. And the cuckoo bird gets right to her and doesn't realize that the girl is American. She brought two things with her: rock and roll and a butterfly knife.
Yeah.
And she sticks her right in the throat.
Right in the throat warble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the or whatever it is becomes a
And some good arterial spray.
on the camera, no less. As she pulls back, I thought that was cool. It felt like it might have been a digital arterial spray, you know, to fake blood going on the lens, but it was a nice thought, whether it was an actual thing or a digital thing. It was cool. It was cool. She pulls back from the knife, blood all over the camera.
And this is when you do really get the full, you know, the kerchief is off, the glasses are off this thing. You see the veins in its face and the fucked up teeth and everything.
The crazy eyes, yeah.
Horrifying visage of this monster before Gretchen takes it out with a butterfly knife to the throat.
Yeah, and the whole time, Raggedy Man and fucking Herr Koenig are having the world's worst shootout.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Two guys that can't shoot guns very well cannot hit shit.
I loved that aspect of this
It was
movie,
funny.
that they were such terrible shots.
It was very funny.
So often in these movies, some Yahoo picks up a 9mm and all of a sudden, you know, they're just like headshotting zombies left and right and stuff. And it's like...
That was one of the things we liked about Alien Romulus was the auto target on the gun.
Yeah,
and this is a prime example of I don't know how to fire a gun really.
They just couldn't. They had like Imperial Stormtrooper aim. Everything else but each other. And Gretchen ends up taking the wig off of the cuckoo bird and proving to Herr Koenig, like, hey,
I killed her.
Which kind of sends him into a spiral. And then Gretchen is able in a moment when they're both reloading to go into the room and get her sister and have a tender little moment with her.
Yeah. When Gretchen throws the wig out, what do you think her Michael Madsen line would have been?
Here today, gone tomorrow. Look who's wigging out. I guess she had a price to pay.
She's cut above the rest.
Yeah. That's what I call a dye job.
Oh, that's good.
Fuck you, bitch.
That was straight out of Species.
Yeah. Maybe Michael made that line up and he was tired. It was time to go home.
They were like, we need some sort of zinger. Give us some sort of quip, Michael.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Gretchen has a little moment with her sister where they come together and essentially they back out of the room with Raggedy Cop and Herr Koenig with their guns trained on them, but using each other as sort of human shields.
Yeah.
as they work their way back through the conference room. And at the very end, Gretchen's sister finally speaks, or she makes the cuckoo noise.
Yeah.
And sends
freezes those two boys. Yeah.
Into a time loop. And the girls get away, and then the boys are finally able to hit something.
Yeah. Each other. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good way to end it.
Yeah, and then you get Gretchen and her sister meet Ed in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, who's been at the hospital this whole time.
Smoking with nurses.
Yep. Yes. And then they're on their way to Paris. Because at some point, the parents just mysteriously disappeared in this movie, never to be seen again.
That's
I don't know
true.
if you noticed that.
Yeah.
But like at one point they were like, yes, we're going to keep Alma here for more investigation. And then they just like wheel Mom out and Dad. And then like you don't hear from them for the rest of the movie. They just kind of
and there
fall
was
through the
something
plot.
Wrong with Mom too. Like
Yeah.
she was kind of fucked up.
That was a loose end I felt was left dangling a little too much.
Mm-hmm. There's a few things left dangling in this one, but it's a fun ride. Like I said, I liked it just a little bit better than some of the other movies we've reviewed this year that have been new films.
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid entry. There are some people that are just not going to jive with the wacky concept of the cuckoo bird, of this monster impregnating other women by putting her eggs inside of them.
By reaching forward, like with a weird gift,
with a handful of ovum or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A sloppy, slippery hand full of ovum.
Like, I don't think it works that way. I'm not a doctor myself, but I do not think that this is the way that it works. You can't just slip some eggs into their vagina and have that make a baby.
You must first both be in the hot tub.
Yeah.
And you let the cuckoo slide off the hand into the hot water. And it mixes with the semen, which is already there.
Yeah, the test came back. It's in there all right.
Yeah. Pretty soon, it washes right up inside you.
Soon you will have strong, striking boob tentacles.
This movie is Cuckoo, 100%.
It is. But
Yeah.
I dug it.
Yeah. Oh, our next episode, it's going to be Dana Gould is going to be on the show with us.
That's right. Special guest Dana Gould.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Korean film The Host, which I think came out in around 2006. Also, we're going to do Godzilla -0.
-1.
Whatever.
Godzilla -1.
Whatever. It's 1, it's 0.
If you have Godzilla -0, then it's just Godzilla. I mean, I'm no
If it's Godzilla
mathematician.
-1, then it's Godzilla 0,
No, it's Godzilla -1.
which equals 0.
No, that's Godzilla minus Godzilla.
What's the number of Godzilla if it's -1?
Godzilla is its own thing.
I gotta go.
It's not a closed set. Hey, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at The Whole Damn Thing 13. Questions, comments, concerns? Why don't you send us an email at thewholedamnthing13@gmail.com.
Let us know if you think our mom is right, or is our review's going on too long. Put in the subject line, Mom is right.
We got so many cool things happening on our Patreon. We are constantly putting little nuggets, deleted parts of episodes, trailers that we've made up. We have a couple of other people that are helping us out, make some other assets that are a lot of fun, all available at our Patreon. That's The Whole Damn Thing. So check that out and join up. There's a lot of fun stuff, a lot of funny stuff, a lot of insider stories, and yeah.
Yeah, we've got the Discord too. Discord, you can get to us through the Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you're going to get a link to the Discord, and if you have an issue with it or a problem with it, you can just DM us and we will help you in. But there's a ton of things going on over there. Matt Box has been adding a bunch of different channels, and there's a bunch of silly things going on. We want to do a trailer. We want people to put in input, and we'll do an AI trailer, which is very similar to the AI commercial that we just did for the Videodrome for Spectacular Optical. And if you haven't seen that, by all means, go to the Patreon and check it out, because that's one of those things that you're going to want to see. And we want to come up with some kind of wacky horror movie idea and do our own trailer. So that's something that we're going to do there in the future. So yeah, lots of great things coming up. We want to keep this fresh and new and different and fun. So by all means, go to the Patreon, throw a little money our way if you don't mind. If you like the show, it really helps pay all the bills and cover everything, and it's much appreciated. So thanks for everything, and thanks to all the supporters we have currently, and we appreciate you more than you could possibly know. Thank you so much.
The head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Species and Cuckoo. The boys certainly put all their eggs in one basket in this episode. Keep your ears open for their next drop, when they welcome special guest Dana Gould to talk with them about 2006's The Host and 2024's Godzilla -1. Until next time.